Well, hello, my dear students. Welcome to the first lecture of Chart Book Summary Revision with me, CA Preeti Agarwal. In today's session, we are going to begin the most important chapter of your syllabus, that is the Indian Contract Act 1872. This carries a weightage of somewhere close to 30 marks. So your paper will comprise of questions, case-based questions, theory questions, mostly from the Indian Contract Act 1872. I agree that you have already studied this chapter many times for your tests or revision, etc. This is students' favorite chapter. That is what I have observed. Yes, many do like the Sale of Goods Act, but we generally start our revision, we generally start studying with the Indian Contract Act 1872. So this is some introduction which you must have already studied multiple times in the past. But studying is just one part of your preparation. The most important aspect is writing practice, and that is where most of the students lack. So this, you can call it summary revision, you can call it writing practice, you can call it exam oriented batch. I think this is all in one, because we are not only going to study all the concepts in a summary form, but we are also going to write and practice. We have few charts for you. See, look over here. We have a few pages which we have intentionally kept blank. We have just provided the head points and we have allowed you to fill in those blanks. So this will actually force you to write and practice the keywords, phrases, important sentences, etc. The colorful charts will help you to recall the concept in the exam. This is what students have told me, that man, we are able to visualize the entire chart because of the colors that you have used. And the way we have formatted the concepts, everything is summarized in maximum one page. Yes. So this is a summary revision. This is a writing practice batch. This is also an exam oriented batch, because sometimes students come to me in the end, like just 10 days before the exam, and they'll be like, ma'am, I have not studied or I have not prepared well. Now you tell me what should be my study strategy. How can I give you a shortcut? So this is a shortcut. Yes. So many times students ask me that, ma'am, there are just 10-15 days. How do I prepare for the syllabus? This is how you will prepare. So you call it a summary batch. I'm okay with anything. Exam oriented batch, writing practice. As long as you get good marks, I'm happy with whatever name you give to this batch. Okay. All right. So let us begin with the Indian Contract Act 1872, the first chapter. Now, as I had mentioned earlier in my introduction video, if you have not watched the introduction video, please go and watch it. There I have explained how to use this chart book. Okay. So just in case you have not watched it, you will first revise the chapter on your own. Okay. Because if I revise it and you are only simply writing, okay, you're just copying, then that will be of no use. I want you to first revise the chapter on your own as if you're preparing for your exam or a test. Okay. Revise that chapter. Then you will again revise it with me through these lectures. Ma'am, you said it is a writing practice batch. Let us just stick to the writing practice. No. It is very important for you to revise the concept first. And there is a difference in you revising, maybe, just reading the concept and say, yes, I know what the concept says. And it is different when we do it together. Okay. So I will try my best to highlight the key words, the key sentences, highlight questions, concepts on which questions are generally asked. So we will revise together. Okay. I will make you write notes. We will draw charts. Okay, we will revise everything, whatever I had covered in the regular lectures or maybe fast track. I will revise everything with you. After we finish revising the chapter, then we will again write and practice those keywords. So because of this multiple reading, learning, writing, I'm very sure that you will be able to recall each and every keyword, phrase, sentence, section number in the exam. Okay. So we will keep on learning, because this is an exam oriented batch. In a very short span of time, I will prepare you for the main exam. So first we will revise the concept. Then we will write and practice. After that, there are a few homework questions which I have given you. Initially, I will solve those questions with you. I'll give you an idea of the format to be followed, what should be written in provisions, facts, analysis, conclusion. I will guide you. But after 2 or 3 chapters, then I will stop doing that. Otherwise, it will be spoon feeding, and I don't want to do that. Once you get an idea on how the answers are to be framed, what is to be written in the answer, then you will submit those homework questions to me for checking. Okay. So this is going to be our approach. It's a 3-step approach. First, revise the concept. Second, write and practice. And third is when you solve the homework questions, writing practice of those questions. You will solve those homework questions. You will send it to me for checking, and I will call you and we will discuss your performance. Okay, I'll give you a feedback. But you have to do that effort of writing practice and sending the questions. If I solve each and every question for you, that moment you will feel, ma'am, it is very easy. I'm able to solve it. I'm able to get it. But later on, when you actually appear for the final exam, you'll be like, ma'am, I cannot proceed further without any help. I don't want to put you in that situation. All right. Okay. So students, today's session is going to be like a warm-up session. Okay. I call it a warm-up session because we are going to study the essential elements of a valid contract. It's going to be a very small video. It's like a warm-up. I'm sure every one of you will be able to answer these questions. I'm going to ask you. Although I cannot hear you, but you have to answer. Okay? When I ask you a question, yes, tell me, how many parties required to form a valid contract? 2 parties, yes. So you keep on answering. Okay? I cannot hear you, but I can feel you. I know you are answering, and when you speak it loudly, I'm sure you will be able to memorize those provisions, and you'll try to recall, and that is how you will end up writing beautiful answers in your main exam. I want you to reach that stage where you send me a message, ma'am, I got 90 marks in law. Highest. I'm waiting for that message from you. Is it even possible? Yes, one of our students got 90 marks in CA Foundation Law. If he can do it, so can you. Yes? Okay. Come on. With this spirit, let us write and practice the essential elements. Ma'am, aren't we going to revise? So we are not going to revise because it's a very small chapter. It's a very small part, essential elements. From my next session, I will start revising the concepts properly, wherein we discuss what is offer, what are the rules of offer, types of offer, lacks of offer, everything we will revise properly. So now let us just write and practice the essential elements, and I will also write and practice the classification of contracts with you. Okay, now in my chart book, you will notice that I have mentioned the essential elements of a valid contract. These are few essential elements which are mentioned in section 10. But section 10 is not a complete list. There are other elements also which are required to make a valid contract, so that we have covered separately. As per section 10, for a valid contract, there must be free consent. If you have a highlighter, please highlight along with me. Then parties must be competent to contract. So I need competency. So free consent, competency. Lawful consideration, lawful object. It should not be expressly declared void. These are the only points which are given in section 10. But section 10, although it does not cover these essential elements, they are very much relevant to make a valid contract. There are certain sections which also contain requirements for an agreement to be enforceable by law. So these are not given in section 10, but they are also considered as essential elements of a valid contract. So we have minimum 2 parties. Don't write anything. So we need minimum 2 parties. Don't draw anything, okay? There must be intention to create legal relation. Yes, now you will write along with me. This is talking about enforceability. Okay? So 2 parties, enforceability. These are the elements for a valid contract. I need offer. I need acceptance. I need enforceability. Yes? Then we need fulfillment of legal formalities if there are any, like it has to be in writing, registered, etc. Meaning must be certain. Do you remember the section number? Certainty of meaning. You'll revise the section numbers also. Yes. Very good. It is section 29. Please highlight this as important for exam. The contract must be capable. It must be possible of being performed. Section 56. Section 56. See, we are not only going to write in these blanks, but we are also going to make small notes when we revise the concept. This is nothing but writing practice. You have to fill the chart book along with me. Now, what are the essential elements? We need minimum 2 parties. There must be enforceability, legal formality, certainty of meaning, possibility of performance, pre-consent, competency, lawful object, lawful consideration. Do you remember the section number for lawful object, lawful consideration? Absolutely right. Section 23. Section 23. Okay. Did you write this? All right. Classification of contract may be according to validity as void contract, voidable contract, illegal agreement. Then we have valid contract, unenforceable contract, express contract, implied tacit contract, executed executory contract. Okay, either unilateral or bilateral. I'm not going deeper into this because anyways, we are going to revise and write everything on the next page. Now, let us also discuss the type of questions that can be asked. Mostly theory question will be asked on classification. So, they will say classify according to formation, classify according to performance. So, you will have to write the classification accordingly. Or they may say mention something about express and how is it different from tacit contract. So, you can expect a theory question. They also ask questions on what is the meaning of voidable contracts. Okay, so voidable is important. Unilateral, sometimes they ask a question. On this, I don't think they will ask you a theory question. It will mostly be a case-based question. It will mostly be on enforceability, social, domestic, business, commercial enforceability. On that part, they will ask. Okay. Now, let us write and practice over here. Come on, tell me. Let us first revise the definition of agreement. Will this be asked in the exam? Are we supposed to write the definition of the word agreement? I don't think it will be asked in the exam. But since we are starting off with the chapter, you need to know the definition of the basic concepts at least. Yes. Agreement is defined under section 2 clause E. How to remember the section number? It's agreement. E. Yes, agreement. So this double E, that is why it is defined under clause E. This is how we will memorize it. Okay. Now, every, yes, come on, let's be very quick when we revise. Okay. Let us make it a very quick revision. Every, what should I write over here? You answer. This is your revision. Every, okay. Every promise. How did I teach you in the class? Every promise and every set of promises forming consideration for each other is an agreement. Did you notice the hand movements? It may seem childish right now, but in the exam you will be able to write the definition as it is. Every promise and every set of promises forming consideration for each other is an agreement. So that becomes so easy. Every promise and every set of promises forming, what should I write? Consideration for each other is an agreement. How will you write the equation? If I ask a simple equation, what is agreement? Yes. Agreement is offer plus acceptance. Ma'am, can we also include consideration over here? Yes, you can also include consideration. Then why haven't you made provision for that? That's because sometimes when we discuss the questions, case-based questions, etc., we try to find consideration, we concentrate on that and we mess up the answer. That is how I have realized initially when I teach this concept to students also when they are new. I don't discuss consideration. because then they tend to get confused. But yes, you can also add consideration. But agreement is nothing but offer plus accepted. What is a contract? What is a contract? Contract is defined under section 2, clause H. Students, whenever you feel that you need to pause the video, right, and maybe I'm proceeding slightly fast, so you can pause the video anytime. That's the benefit of these online lectures. You can pause the video anytime you want. You can write along with me. I encourage you to write along with me. Pause the video, complete your writing. Okay, come on. How will you define a contract? An agreement enforceable by law is a contract. What is the easy way to remember it? Contract is agreement plus enforceability. Contract is agreement plus enforceability. What is agreement? Offer plus acceptance. Can I say that in order to make a valid contract, I need 3 elements: offer, acceptance, and enforceability. Offer, acceptance, and enforceability. Okay. I'm going to repeat. I'm going to keep repeating so that it's memorized. Okay. That's how we learn. An agreement enforceable by law is a contract. Agreement, offer plus acceptance, enforceable by law is an. I'll write 3 over here, or let me not write anything, you'll get confused. An agreement enforceable by law is a contract. It is defined under section 2, clause H. हाँ, ये contract है. Okay? All essentials are present. हाँ, ये contract है. So, हाँ is H and ये contract है. Okay? All essentials are present. It is a valid contract. हाँ है. So, that is H. Now, let us discuss something about enforceability also. In which transactions we assume there is a presumption that there is enforceability? In case of business, write along with me. In case of business or commercial transactions, we assume that there is enforceability. Yes, we assume. But in case of social, so there is presumption. There is presumption. But in case of social or domestic agreements, there is no such presumption. Now, how will you write this in the exam? So, an agreement is said to be enforceable by law when it creates some legal obligation. Yes. Now, parties must have intention to sue, intention to file a case. In case of business or commercial agreements, the usual presumption is that parties intend to create legal relation. But in case of social or domestic agreement, the usual presumption is that parties do not intend to create legal relation. So this is how you will write. What will you write? Enforceability means intention to sue, intention to file a case. If one party defaults, other party can take action. In case of business or commercial transaction, there is a usual presumption. What is the presumption? That parties intend to create legal relation. But in case of social or domestic, There is no presumption. Okay, so there in this case, there is a presumption. Okay, there is a presumption it is presumed that parties do not intend to create legal relationship. Social is between friends, domestic is between family. We assume that they do not intend to create legal relations, so there's no enforceability. This will not be a valid contract. This is a valid contract. It will create a valid contract. So this amounts to a valid contract, provided all other essential elements are present, okay? This is merely an agreement. Done? Just check whether you have written everything. So let us revise the essential elements of a valid contract. Yes. How many parties required to form a valid contract? Two parties. Now, what are my keywords? See, this revision is all about keywords, writing practice, highlighting the keywords, learning them. So we need minimum. So what are my keywords? I need minimum two parties. Many times students find it very difficult to learn. So I'll teach you how you can learn these sentences. Connect the next sentence with the previous sentence. You pick up one word, like for example, I know that we need minimum two parties. What will we write next? These parties, okay, parties must be distinct. Distinct means different, as you cannot enter into contract with yourself. And they must be competent to contract. What is competency? That we will define later. Okay. So minimum two distinct, different parties are required to form a valid contract, because you cannot enter into contract with yourself. So what are my keywords over here? Minimum two, distinct and different, and they must be competent to contract. Okay. They are saying we need two parties. Should they be natural, or is it okay even if they are artificial persons? See, now you have covered the Companies Act, so you have a fair idea about it. Yes. So these parties may be natural or artificial person. Even companies can enter into a valid contract. I'm going slow so that you have time to write along with me. Then there must be proper offer and acceptance. Offer is the starting point of contract. This offer must be properly communicated. Acceptance must also be properly communicated. See, whenever I want to make a valid contract, what are the elements that I require? Tell me. In order to make a valid contract, I need offer, acceptance, and enforceability. So, offer is the starting point of contract, and this offer must be properly communicated. The other person should know about the offer, only then he can accept it. So, there must be proper offer and acceptance. So, what are the 3 points that we will write? These are the key points. You will elaborate on them. Offer, is the starting point of contract. Then what will you elaborate? Offer and acceptance must be properly communicated. In the exam, you can say offer must be properly communicated, acceptance must also be properly communicated. You can also elaborate how. How will you communicate? Communication may be either in words, oral or written, or it may be by action, that is, conduct of the parties. This is nothing but implied yes. So communication may be oral, writing, via letters, email, fax. It may be implied from our action. So in short, we are going to write everything and then you can elaborate that in the exam. What is the third requirement? See, I got offer, acceptance. Now I also need enforceability. Yes. So what is the meaning of enforceability? It means intention to sue, intention to file a case. If one party defaults, other party can take action. There was a very famous case law which we had covered here. What is the name of the case law? Balfour versus Balfour. So there must be intention to create legal relation. So if one party defaults, other party can take action. In case of business or commercial transactions, there is the usual presumption. Now I will use the word usual. That sounds good when you write in the exam. There is a usual presumption that parties intend to create legal relation. See how I'm writing in short. But in case of social or domestic, there is no presumption. What will you write in the exam? No is no presumption that parties intend to create legal relation. What is the next element? Consent must be free. Section 13 defines consent. Section 14 defines free consent. Consent is not free when it is caused by coercion. Section number 15. Undue influence 16. Fraud 17. Misrepresentation 18. Mistake 20. This we are talking about bilateral mistake. In case of bilateral, the contract is void, yes? Now, so there must be consent. What is the meaning of consent? Parties must agree upon the same thing in the same sense, and this consent must be free. Now, in case of coercion, what are my keywords? There is some physical force or threat. Okay? There is some threat or physical. Let me write it like this. There is either threat or physical force. What are my keywords in undue influence? There is some moral or mental pressure. There is some moral or mental pressure. What are my keywords in fraud? Tell me. What are my keywords in fraud? There is some false representation, or I can also write this. My aim is to cheat or to deceive. It to cheat, to deceive the other party. I am giving false information intentionally. What is in misrepresentation? There is innocent, false representation of facts. What is my keyword in mistake? There is some erroneous belief. In misrepresentation, party is saying something representing. In mistake, they both understand different things in different sense. Here, there is no representation. You're not saying something. Both are understanding something very different. So these are my keywords. What are my keywords? Coercion, threat, or physical force. Undue influence, moral or mental pressure. Fraud, cheating, deceiving. Here is innocent, false representation, and erroneous belief. These are my keywords. If this question is asked in the exam, if something is asked on these concepts, you have to include these words in your answer. Parties must be capable of entering into a valid contract. This is covered under section 11. Who are capable of entering into contract? Only a major person, person of sound mind, rational person, and person who is not disqualified from contracting under any law to which he is subject. Who is disqualified? Alien enemy, foreign sovereigns, ambassadors, convict, insolvent. Yes, so write down. Alien enemy. So these are disqualified. Foreign sovereigns, convict, and insolvent. They cannot enter into contract. There must be lawful object, lawful consideration, section 23. What is the meaning of consideration? In return, what is the Latin phrase? Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo means something in return. Both parties must get something in return. There must be consideration for both the parties. Or you can write all the parties if there are more than two. And this must be lawful, accepted by law. It must be legal. Object is the purpose for which we are entering into contract. That purpose must be lawful. Agreement must not expressly be declared void. What is the meaning of void? Void means it is not enforceable by law. It may be void ab initio, that is void right from the beginning, or just void. Just void means contract was valid when entered, later on it became void. Void means it is not enforceable. Your agreement must not expressly be declared void. When is it expressly void? When is it expressly void? In case of uncertain agreements, agreements in restraint, agreements in restraint of marriage, section 26. Agreements in restraint of trade, 27. Legal proceedings, section 28. This is how we revise the section numbers. Restraint of marriage, 26. Trade, 27. Legal proceeding, 28. Uncertain, 29. Okay. Wager, section 30. So your agreement must not be expressly void. Okay. Meaning must be certain. Section 29 important. Various terms used must be certain. The words that we use, certain, definite, and not vague. You need to mention all this in your exam. For certain, definite, you can also say terms must be unambiguous. Unambiguous means clear. Okay. Ambiguous means confusing. So terms must be certain and unambiguous. What is the example that we normally discuss? Oil example. Yes. Now, X is a dealer in different kinds of oil. He agrees to sell 10 liters to Y. This is not a valid contract because kind of oil is not specified. Terms are uncertain. But what if he is a dealer in coconut oil only? Then you need not specify the kind of oil, then it is understood. Okay. So example oil, because if a question is asked in the exam on this, it will 99% it will be on this example only. The contract must be capable. It must be possible of being performed. Now, X tells Y, I will bring a star, a piece of moon from the sky. This is not a valid contract. It is physically impossible to perform this contract. But what if X tells Y that I will give you 10 kg of rice and Y promises to pay him 1000 rupees? This is a valid contract because it is capable of being performed. In case there are legal formalities, then you need to comply with those legal formalities. Like, for example, law wants the contract to be in writing, compulsory, like gift that has to be in writing and registered, contracts of immovable property that also needs to be in writing and registered. Writing. Law sometimes requires stamping, registration, attestation. Then if there is some formality, then you have to fulfill it. Otherwise, it's your wish. Even oral contracts are valid. All these essential elements need to be present to make a valid contract. Now check whether you have written everything. These are my keywords. Okay, these are my key points. You have covered everything, right? Very good. Now let's proceed. Classification of contract. What is the meaning of void contract? Void. And that too contract. They are talking about contracts which were valid when they were entered, later on they became void. That is why they have used the word contract. If they were talking about void ab initio, they would have mentioned void agreement. Yes. So void contract means that it was valid when entered, but later on, due to certain circumstances, contract cannot be enforced, it becomes void. So it became void later. Let's say, for example, that A promised to marry B, it's a valid contract. But before marriage, A dies. Now the contract cannot be performed, therefore it becomes void. What is the definition of a void contract? Let's try to recall the definition. What is the section number in which it is defined? Yes, section 2, clause J. What is the definition of a void contract? A contract, okay, a contract. See, a contract which ceases to be enforceable by law because of some circumstance. Let's write the definition. A contract. This is how we break it. Which ceases to be enforceable by law. What happens then? It becomes void. When does it become void? When it ceases to be enforceable. This is how we learn the definition also. A contract which ceases to be enforceable by law becomes void. When does it become void? When it ceases to be enforceable. These are my break points. I break the definition and learn it. A contract which ceases to be enforceable by law becomes void when it ceases to be enforceable. This last part is actually talking about the time when it is void. So when it stops being enforceable, it becomes void. Void ab initio is void agreement. Okay, I have a doubt over here. What if the contract becomes void and there was some benefit given to the other party? That benefit will have to be restored. Section number, tell me. 65. Just mention over here. Section 65. Restoration of benefit in case of void contract, or when you subsequently find that it was void. In case of void. What is the meaning of voidable contract? Voidable means the contract, whether it is valid or whether I want to cancel it, that option is given to the aggrieved party. So a contract which is enforceable at the option of aggrieved party, that is known as voidable contracts. Voidable defined under section 2I. And how will we remember the section numbers? I will decide. I means aggrieved party. I will decide whether the contract is to be kept valid or cancelled. Voidable contracts are those contracts in which the aggrieved party has two options. Okay, let me write down over here. Voidable means the aggrieved party. Okay, only and only the aggrieved party has two options. The aggrieved party has two options. Keep quiet, treat the contract as valid, or cancel the contract. Better word for cancel is to rescind the contract or repudiate the contract. See how we are writing and practicing these words. Many a time students don't even write a single word and they expect themselves to write everything properly in the exam. That's not possible. This has to be done during revision. So the aggrieved party has two options. Keep quiet, treat the contract as valid, or go to the court, cancel the contract. When you cancel the contract, you will have to restore the benefit. The benefit shall be restored. This is covered under section 64. Ma'am, you just mentioned 65. That is for void. Section 64 is for voidable contract. Restoration in case of voidable. So in case of voidable contracts, aggrieved party, the contract is enforceable at the option of one party but not at the option of the other. So such options are available. Now, when is the contract voidable? When the consent is obtained by, tell me, coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation. Will I write mistake? No. Mistake is void. That also bilateral mistake. Bilateral mistake is void. Do you want to write the definition? Yes, we can write the definition also. Let's write the definition. You can write it on a separate piece of paper if you want. Let's write it. Come on, write along with me. How will you define voidable? An agreement. This is just writing practice. An agreement which is enforceable by law at the option of one party but not at the option of another party. Okay? You have to just write it in short. Not at the option of the other. Then such agreements are known as, then these are known as voidable contracts. This is a voidable contract. An agreement which is enforceable by law at the option of one party but not at the option of the other is a voidable contract. What are the other points which you should remember? What are the other points? I mentioned restoration of benefit. What are the other points? Contract must be rescinded within a reasonable time. So whether you want to treat it as valid or cancelled, that decision must be taken at a reasonable time. Okay, this is the other point. And only aggrieved party can decide, not the other party. The benefit will be restored. These are 3 extra points. The options are available only with the aggrieved party. Benefit will be restored. And it must be rescinded, cancelled within a reasonable time. What is the meaning of illegal? Illegal means it is forbidden. Now, if the main agreement is void, what will happen to the collateral? Collateral means additional. That need not be void. But if the main is illegal, what will happen to the collateral? That is also tainted with illegality, it will become void. Okay? This is also tainted with illegality. Okay? That is also affected. Tainted means it is affected. That also becomes void. Illegal is either forbidden or you can write contrary to law. It means the same. Contrary to law. Law forbids you to make. These illegal, these are the keywords. It is nothing but void ab initio. These are my key points. Illegal means it is forbidden by law, contrary to law, and it is void ab initio. So, see how I am able to revise all the key points so easily. There is punishment for illegal. Yes, illegal contracts, they are punishable by law. You can write here also like this. You can write punishable by law. Okay. So they are forbidden, they are contrary to law, it is void ab initio, and they are also punishable. These are my keywords, key points. Then we have a valid contract. Valid means all the essential elements of a valid contract are present. This is enforceable by law. So what will you write? What are the keywords over here? It is enforceable by law. All essential elements are present. In case a question is asked on all this, you can write an example also. Next, we have what is an unenforceable contract. What is an unenforceable contract? It is anyways, all the essential elements are present. Only thing is that there are certain legal formalities which are not complied with. Okay. So in case of unenforceable contract, it is a valid contract. Okay? Other essential elements are present, but there is some kind of technical defect. Like it is not in writing, it is not attested. So for the time being, the contract is unenforceable. I got it in writing, contract becomes enforceable. So what are my keywords over here? There is some kind of technical defect. Okay. Like it is not in writing. There is no attestation. There is no stamping. So for the time being, the contract is unenforceable. I removed the technical defects. Okay. I removed the technical defects. Contract becomes enforceable. What is express contract? Express means it is expressed in words, oral or written. Okay. So express means it is expressed in words, oral or written. Implied. Implied may be of two types. Implied by facts or implied by law. This is also known as quasi-contract. Now, implied by fact means words are not used. The contract is inferred. It is understood from the facts, circumstances, action of the parties. Okay. So implied by fact means words are not used. Okay. It is inferred. I am using a better word. I'm not going to write it is understood. That's a simple word. It is inferred from action or conduct of the parties or circumstances of the case. What about implied by law? Parties never intended to enter into contract. Contract is implied, it is understood by law. So over here, parties never intended to contract. Okay. But the contract is inferred by law. It is imposed by law. Okay. So you can write it is inferred or it is implied by law. I can also write an example in the exam. Like for this example can be bus running on a fixed route. That's an implied offer. A coolie picks up your luggage. It's an implied offer. Implied by law, you can write that A by mistake. Okay. A by mistake left goods at the house of B instead of C. He used the goods. If he has used the goods, it is understood that he has to pay for the goods. Okay. These are the key points. Words are not used. It is inferred from the action, conduct, circumstances. Your party is never intended to contract. It is implied by law. Tacit. There is no separate classification as tacit contract in the Act. This is something which is generally understood in the local sense. The word tacit, it means silence. Okay. The word tacit means silence, saying nothing. Here also words are not used. Okay, here also words are not used. It is inferred from the action or circumstances of the case. Now, ma'am, this is very similar to implied from the facts. Yes, tacit is not a separate classification. It is a type of implied contract implied by fact. You will select the option tacit only in case of these two examples. Withdrawing cash from ATM and sale by fall of hammer. Only in these two circumstances you will go with the option tacit. Otherwise, please select the option implied. What is the meaning of executed contract? Executed means both the parties have fulfilled their obligation. So what is the meaning of executed? Both. This is my keyword. Both parties have fulfilled the obligation. What is unilateral contract? Uni means one. Okay, uni means one. It is a, what are my keywords? Uni means, it means one. What are my keywords? It is a one-sided contract. Okay, it's a one-sided contract in which after formation, this is, you have to mention this in your answer. It is a one-sided contract in which after formation, only one party has to perform his obligation. Other party has already performed his obligation before the formation of contract. Okay, in which after formation, after is my keyword. One-sided, after formation only one party has to perform his obligation. You can also write if you want. Other party has fulfilled his obligation before formation of contract. Like for example, there was a contest that we will give £1,000 to the winner of a pasta eating contest. X won. Now, he ate all the pasta. He performed his obligation. Then a contract is entered where the contest promised to give him 1,000. Yes. Earlier we didn't know to whom that money is to be paid. Only when the winner is announced, we will pay him that money. So here they announced to pay him 1,000 rupees. Okay. And he won the contest. Now a contract is made. Contract is always made with a winner. No, before that it is just an announcement. So now there is a contract. In this contract, X has already performed his act of eating. Only organizers, the contest organizers, have to perform their obligation. So this is a unilateral contract. After formation, only one party has to perform his obligation. The other party has already fulfilled his obligation even before the formation of contract. Then what is executory contract, also known as bilateral contract? Bi means both the parties have to still perform their obligation. So it is a contract wherein both parties have to still perform their obligation. Okay. Both the parties have to still perform their obligation. This is known as bilateral contract. Both have to still perform. You can call it either executory or bilateral. Executory means something remains to be done. Both the parties have to still perform their obligation. You can call it either executory or bilateral. So students, with this, we complete your chart book revision on the first part, that is types of contracts and the essential elements of a valid contract. In my next session, I will write and practice one question with you. Okay. On this, not many questions have been asked, but I will write and practice one question so that you get an idea about how to write answers. All right. Then we will also discuss the chapter on offer and acceptance. So please revise that chapter, and then we will revise and then write and practice. Okay. Chalo. So with this, I take your leave, and in my next session, I will discuss question answer writing with you, the format, how to frame the answer, how to find the answer from the question itself. The answer is hidden in the question itself. How to frame the answers, everything will be covered in the next lecture. I will train you properly for it. Okay. This book can be purchased from my website, capreetyagarwal.com. Please visit my website and share this video with your friends. We are going to revise all the key points, all the summary of the various chapters. And with this, we will be able to memorize the keywords and write them in the exam for better marks. All right, students. So I take your leave. I'll see you in the next session where we discuss question answers.